Hello and welcome back to Movie Health Community, the internet's #1 source of health warnings at the movies. As always, please keep in mind that nothing produced by Movie Health Community is medical advice, nor has it been reviewed by any medical professionals. Today we're talking about The Marvels, the newest movie in the MCU, in the middle of an atmosphere of massive superhero burnout. As always, before we get into whether the movie was any good, is this movie safe? The answer is no! This is your standard, typical MCU flair. The biggest and most frequent offender when it comes to flashing lights involves these jump points. Here's an example from the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster at Epcot. They use these a lot. These are really central to this movie. And these have constant electrical or lightning type effects around them. And they do pop up without warning sometimes. There is one brief moment where lights flicker off in an emergency situation. For flashing lights, we're giving this movie a 9 out of 10. Please use extreme caution if you have photosensitive health issues. As for motion, the camera motion is pretty smooth, but there is a skydiving sequence, and there are 2 sequences of tumbling through space and following the action of a person tumbling through space and following at their own rolling angles. That's quite disorienting. We saw a lot of that in Gravity and The Martian and Interstellar, and we see that in The Marvels. There is some use of zero gravity that may be disorienting. The only mental health warning I have is if you're uncomfortable with the sight and or the sound of a cat coughing up a hairball and all the motions that precede that, then you will be very uncomfortable with this movie. It does happen quite a bit. Now, is The Marvels any good? The MCU has certainly done a lot worse than this movie. They've definitely done better, but they've done a lot worse. This is probably kind of middle of the ground for the MCU. I would put it on the same plane as like a Thor: The Dark World. I would definitely put it above Captain Marvel. This is more memorable than Captain Marvel. And the center of what makes this movie more memorable than Captain Marvel is Iman Vellani as Mrs. Marvel. She brings such an infectious joy to every second of screen time she's in as the fangirl character that anyone who's fans of the franchise or fans of any franchise, we know we would all be if we were suddenly thrust into their worlds. And the joy she brings, not just as a character, but as an actress, it does something to elevate this movie. It really does. Brie Larson and Teyonah Parris were also great, but Iman Vellani was the real standout in this movie. Honestly, this movie should have had her as the central character. The villain is pretty standard MCU stuff and pretty forgettable. There is one thing that I'm actually kind of angry about, but it involves a huge spoiler, so I'm going to save that for the very end. The sound in this movie was excellent. The score was really good, and just the sound design was really good. And maybe it's just because I was in an IMAX theater, but that just hit really well for me this time around. I'm going to give The Marvels a B. Thank you so much to our readers on Tumblr and Facebook, and as always, an extra special thanks to our patrons over on our Patreon page, whose names are scrolling across the screen like credits right now. Be sure to like this video, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we post new videos, and leave a comment if you have anything to add to the conversation, especially if you disagree with anything that's been said here. And as always, stay safe at the movies. Okay, if you're sticking around for the spoiler, here it is. There is a cameo in the mid-credits scene. A cameo of a character that was previously created with beautiful makeup and hairstyling effects, like Oscar-worthy makeup. And when they bring back this character, they bring back the actor. They don't bring back the makeup and special makeup effects. They bring this character back in full CG, and it looks just as bad as the CG in The Flash. And my big complaint is, why are we doing that? Why are we doing what we know looks worse when we have the means to do what looks better? We just had a movie, The Creator, that was made on probably about a third of the Marvels budget. Maybe half. I don't actually know the budget of the Marvels. But the creator was definitely made on a smaller budget than the Marvels was made on. And everything about the creator looked wonderful, using some really old-fashioned and new effects. And those were used in such a perfect blend. Why is the MCU not doing that consistently? That could put them on the same tier as classic Star Wars, classic Star Trek, and The Lord of the Rings. If they would just really do a better job balancing when to use and when not to use CG. Anyway, rant over. Thanks for watching.